Hello everybody, it's Forrest, and in this video I'm going to give you a full update on the tropics, lots of information on a specific area we are watching in the Atlantic, as well as a look at the Pacific, alerts right now, and a severe weather forecast as well in this video. So yeah, let's get right into it. So right now I have the alerts pulled up, and again, this video I'm going to be paying attention to a big system that could be upcoming in the Atlantic and eventually could be affecting many land masses and is currently affecting land masses right now. So definitely want to talk about that, and that's going to be power packed in a short little video. So yeah, to make it short, let's get to it. So right now the alerts, we actually quite a bit of activity going on, mainly in the way of heat, heat advisories, excessive heat warnings, and red flag warnings and fire issuances are up for the Pacific Northwest, South Central U.S., and Eastern Seaboard. Some severe thunderstorm watches and warnings are also up ahead of a severe threat. And some other dense fog, local dense fog areas, flood watches, other hazardous areas of concern, and some special weather statements regarding fire weather. So those are your alerts currently. Getting into the severe outlook, this is our current day one, a slight risk for the Midwest, including areas of Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, and a lot of Kentucky. 2% tornado risk for that area, and even a little marginal area in most of Wisconsin. Wind threat is another main threat, and hail threat isn't as big, so mainly just a wind threat with some brief spin ups and some hail up to quarter size or more possible. Getting to day two, a marginal risk up for some of the populated areas, such as areas along the I-95. You got the Carolinas, Virginia, stretching into areas of the Midwest. Mainly just a wind threat, no real hail threat. And some other brief marginal areas in areas such as Arizona and Colorado. Getting into the day three, we have a marginal risk again for the Atlantic seaboard and a little area for some portions of the Dakotas and Minnesota. So we'll take a look at in a few days. We'll see the threats for those, but for now, I'm mainly expecting a wind threat with the possibility of some hail in the areas up here in the north. And we'll see if there's any tornado risk. Let's take a look at the day 4 through 8, and as you can see, nothing in the way of severe weather, but that could definitely change. Given we have a storm threat right now for the Atlantic, I'm going to get back to that, but since we're focusing on that for the main video, I do want to take a look at the Eastern Pacific. We have Tropical Storm Carlotta, currently a tropical storm 60 miles per hour, so has strengthened since 15 miles per hour from my last video yesterday. Could it, some people are talking how it could go to rapid intensification. We'll see about that, but definitely expected to get into a hurricane and sustaining hurricane strength until Monday before weakening into a storm and heading way out to west. No impacts with the land, except maybe some tiny islands. So if you are on those tiny islands, please be careful. Also, disturbance 2 behind it, 30% 48 hours, 90% the next 7 days. This has a good chance of developing also into a hurricane. So we'll see how that looks. We'll take the D name. I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments if you do know. Disturbance 1, 20% 48 hours, 20% 7 days. So this has just not had lots of talk because it's likely just going to meander and eventually fizzle out. Quick look at Carlotta using the NHC, and it still looks like it's a very classic um, tropical storm. I mean, you have some good outflow to the north, some outflow to the south, and then a clear low right in the middle. So definitely representing a very healthy tropical storm. Now let's get into the Atlantic. Here's the Atlantic. I did show you guys that imagery real quick, but I do want to show you guys the actual threat. 30% in the next 48 hours, 70% in the next 7 days for Disturbance 1, also known as Invest 97L. Very, very tricky storm, but right now we do know it's going to trek along these islands, causing disturbed weather right now for the Dominican Republic and eventually Cuba and Haiti and Cuba. And then we do not know where it's going to go after that. Some models have it here, meandering, stalling. Some get it into the western Gulf. Some kind of meander it and then go along the eastern seaboard, bringing impacts along it. So many solutions. And so we're going to take a look at what could be some of those solutions in this video. So 30% again next 48 hours, 10% next 7 days. This is what it looks like on IR, and it actually does look pretty healthy. I mean, you're starting to see some circulation. You have some outflow to the north, very broad. You have a very good amount of convection blowing up right around the center. Um, Shear isn't too much of a problem. Like the environment, its track is in no shear, but to the south and to the north, there's definitely some shear. There's definitely quite a bit of dry air, but it does have its own little moist bubble, so it's able to maintain. So dry air isn't too much of a problem, and sea surface temperatures are definitely not a problem, as it is jet fuel, absolutely warm conditions in the surface in the oceans right now. So overall, very, very warm and very, very uh, favorable conditions for it to actually develop. So, again, very good convection we see. It doesn't look the most organized, but it does look better than it was a few days ago, than it did a few days ago. So, we definitely see some improvement towards a developing storm. So, yeah. That's what it looks like on IR. Now getting into the surface plot, taking a look at where it is right now, and as of 18Z August 1st, August number 1, August 1st, and happy August, by the way. We have it right in the northern Haiti, just crossed the border of Dominican Republic and Haiti, the DR. So it's right here in the north, and again, it could really continue trekking west northwest, or even something kind of like that. So that's where it is right now. Taking a look at intensity guidance, you can see many lots of guidance bringing it into tropical storm, a couple bringing it to hurricane status, and one even bringing it to Cat 2, almost Cat 3. Now this was a little more aggressive earlier. It did show Cat 2, but has kind of backed off a little. We'll see how this continues to go. Some models barely getting to a tropical storm and uh just kind of get through tropical storm weekend and then actually kind of gets back to it. But overall, lots of show good possibility of a tropical storm, but we'll see if anything happens further than that. I know the next D name in the Atlantic is Debbie, so I know that this would take Debbie, tropical storm Debbie, and then maybe even eventually Hurricane Debbie. Taking a look at tracks, this is the good stuff. Now, here's the low pressure right here. This is the spaghetti models, every single ensemble we get to know. This is the Canadian ensembles. Most, you see, there's pretty good agreement here, okay? Overall, it's just continues west-northwestward. But once you get to, like, this point right here, where does it go? Like, between Cuba and Florida, it gets a little hard to decide. I mean, Canadian's a little more straightforward. You have a couple ensembles just plowing it right into Florida, and actually, yeah, has a right plowing into Florida, and actually strengthening over land, which is a little interesting. But the majority actually bring it along here into the Gulf, and then into Florida, and then bringing it along the seaboard, and then like bringing it inland, and then going out to sea and causing other impacts possibly to the coasts. So that's what your Canadian shows. Taking a look at the GEFS ensembles, we also see this is the mean, this big black line, that's the mean. And you see it kind of, that's overall what the tracks show. Getting into the Gulf, like along the eastern Florida coast, western Florida coast, coming out from Georgia and then riding along the eastern seaboard and strengthening. So that could be a pretty bad solution, but that's the mean. But you see, most of them kind of come like here. They kind of like curve. Some bring it back into Louisiana. Some kind of just meander, curve, and then head out to sea. And some just simply just stall out over here, causing devastating conditions for areas of Florida, especially in the way of rainfall. So those are overall your tracks, but that just tells you there's still quite a bit of uncertainty. Lastly, this is the hurricane models. I didn't show the European ensembles because they are pretty similar to the GEFS, and I just wanted to see the other side of, because we have been using the Euro ensembles for a lot of the guidance, and I wanted to show the other side of what other models are showing. Now, the hurricane models are something good we can go off of because they're literally trained to forecast hurricanes and hurricanes only. And you have overall actually kind of some good agreement. I mean, you have it staying a little more south rather than going into the straight or in between Cuba and Florida. You have it kind of going right along the Cuba areas. And look, Cuba's mountainous. Like there is some terrain over there, so that's how we gotta watch for any little jogs or wobbles. I saw that on social media, some people talking about that, and that is definitely something we gotta take into consideration. Now, some models have a simple track that's going into the Florida Panhandle and then dying out there. A few also have it going into the Florida Panhandle and then again kind of going along the eastern seaboard, which we saw some of the GEFS ensembles show as well. So those are your tracks and guidance. Let's take a look at more of the present conditions. Again, here's your low right here. First, taking a look at sea surface temperatures, and I was talking about how warm it is as it continues to come off the coast. Now it is actually staying on land, and that is something I'll also take into consideration. If it does come into the strait here, you have sea surface temperatures above 30 Celsius and maybe even areas above 32 Celsius, which is boiling very, very warm, well into the 80s. And then some also have it coming right along the land. But as soon as it gets off of Cuba, you can see it kind of gets into 30 Celsius and warmer. And even if it stays south, you see 30 Celsius and warmer. So overall, it's in very warm and favorable sea surface temperatures. Getting into other factors, you just have simulated IR over here, just your typical little invest over here. And then you have your low right here at 1011 millibars. And then you have your shear over here towards the bottom. Let's take a zoom in at that. And there's your zoom in right there. Shear, you can see kind of this is where the low was initialized, and now it's over here, I guess. You see shear to the north. Okay, you see shear to the north and east, and quite a bit of shear to the south and west. Okay, kind of those shear that kind of tore apart barrel too. But overall, you see shear to the north and east, shear to the south and west. But perfect conditions for where it's about to track. Absolutely no shear, very light shear. However, you take a look at the moisture, and you see it does have a very good moist bubble right here. And as it continues trekking, this moist bubble will continue protecting it from all this dry, choking air. So it should be able to survive this dry air. But again, there is still some dry air that is a possibility of disrupting the system. But again, for now, nice moist bubble to protect the system from that. And then those are your winds, just showing how the winds are very light. Okay, you do have some stronger winds on the northerly side. And then again, here's your simulated IR. So there's your forecast. Try to keep it quick as possible, power packed with information. And I'll be right back with you guys with updated and the latest information tomorrow. Have a great day.